Hello, hello, guys. Welcome back to Fire Theft Radio. And I don't know if you guys saw my last post. What's today's date, Omar? It's the 29th. And we got a new setup for our podcasting.
Yeah,
I feel more legit.
dude.
I feel like Joe Rogan now.
Dude, what? He's got nothing on us.
I know, right?
His crummy spaceship.
His little spaceship, I know. But hey, man, so no, thanks. Our listeners have been sticking around and been faithful. You guys have been around from the beginning. The ones, you know who you are. You guys are the real ones.
Give yourself a pat on the back.
Give yourself a pat on the back, you know. But we got a really interesting show today. We want to talk about something that I think was pretty much unavoidable. We were like even discussing it amongst us, like, hey, man, should we even talk about this? Should we bring this up? And I'm like, you know what? I think we need to talk about it. So we're going to have to. But before we start, I think Omar wants to kind of, set the tone and really just bring something up before we get into it.
Yeah, definitely. We've been talking about this for on and off. And me and you, we talk about politics fairly regularly.
Yeah.
Off the mic, we talk about politics fairly regularly because it's something unavoidable.
Right.
The older you get and the more you have invested in the economy, in the culture, because of your children, because of where you work, what you do, politics starts affecting you more.
Right.
Legislation,
I think the biggest thing is, especially in our realm, like in the fringe, right?
Yeah.
We're like, oh, the first thing you hear is politics is bunk. None of that matters. Mm-hmm. It's all set. There's nothing we can do.
Well, the Rothschilds control everything.
Right. So, my favorite thing that I like to say that Heiser says here, nothing to see here, citizen, move along.
Yeah,
you know
pretty
what I mean?
much. Yeah.
And so nothing we can do about it. Let's find out more about Nephilim bloodlines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, and it's crazy to me because, and I'm not talking trash right now, but like, that's like our most downloaded episodes.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff, man.
It is very interesting. And I'm not talking down.
It's fascinating, for
obviously,
sure.
we wouldn't even talk about it on the show if we didn't know, we didn't find it interesting or something of relevance in there. But there's also, a job that us believers must do while we're still here on this earth. And, if we live in this Western world, it is being attacked very heavily. It's being dismantled. The decline of Western civilization. You can see that it's being, in my opinion, very much programmed, and it's part of a new world order agenda. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and definitely. So, and I want to start off by saying that I'm respectful and I'm tolerant of all political worldviews, and wherever you lie on the spectrum of far right or far left, it's fine, Mm-hmm. But the reason we want to make this episode is not to attack your political beliefs. And if you already have a political belief, obviously we're not going to change your mind. So our point is not to. It's kind of like there's this really interesting guy, Yuri. You can look him up on YouTube. He's an ex-KGB agent.
Is it Bezmenov?
Bezmenov or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
You can look him up on YouTube.
Actually, I have his video, and I'm going to chop it up and put it in segments on our Instagram page at Fire Theft Radio.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested, there's that 13, 14-minute clip of where he talks about brain manipulation pretty much, like and manipulating a whole generation, and that's all it takes to change pretty much the outcome of the future.
Yeah, it pretty much does. And he talks about socialism because he escaped socialism from the USSR. And the way he explains it is he talks about the same way as people would be in a cult. He said, look, you can grab somebody who's a socialist and you can put them in, because he's specifically talking about socialism. So he said you can grab them and you can show them all the data. You can send them to Russia, show them the gulags, show them where all the people were murdered, and they still wouldn't believe you.
Right.
He says, because it's something within you. And we've talked about this many times.
Right.
Because Carlos and myself come from a cult. And so we know what it's like to be a zealot.
Right.
We know what it's like to really be invested, where that idea is no longer just this idea that you hold freely in your head, but it's something that is you.
Yeah, it becomes you.
You are it. So when you hear something different, when you hear facts, when you hear truths, when you hear all these things, what happens? You don't believe it. And guess what? You're never going to believe it because you're in a cult.
Right.
And that can, like I said, that can go from being in the left or being on the right of the political spectrum here within the United States.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned you become an ideologue, right?
Yeah, you become an ideologue. It is who you are.
Right.
And there is no escaping there's no escaping you having parts of it inside of you. There's no escaping that.
Well, I would say we're designed that way by God.
But there are things where if it takes you over, where you are like just completely devoid and you shut off conversation and you shut off facts and truths, then that's when it becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
So if you're that kind of person,
been there, done that.
I have too. I've been in a cult and I know how it is.
Right.
I had many people growing up telling me, hey, you're in a cult, or hey, that's not what the Bible really says. And I would fight it.
Oh yeah.
Like with all my being.
Oh yeah.
I would say that person is a demon. That person was sent by the devil to try to trick me, right? Into what? Into leaving the faith.
Isn't that crazy? Because literally God sent that person.
Bro, yeah.
In retrospect, you know?
Yeah, if you think of it in a spiritual basis, like we've talked about this, like the Holy Spirit was telling us.
Right.
Like we would read the Bible and then we would have these thoughts, like we would see what our church was doing, and then we would read the Bible, and then we would shut off that voice that would say, my pastor's saying this, but the Bible says this. No, that's a demon that's whispering in my ear, trying to convince me that what the Bible is saying.
Me proper theology.
Yeah, that what the Bible is saying is true. No, I'm not going to believe the Bible. I'm going to believe the pastor.
Gosh. Yeah.
And so we understand this. And so that's what I'm trying to get across to you people, that if you're one of these people, that this might not be the episode for you.
Right.
And that you might get triggered, you might get upset, and think about why.
Yeah.
If you turn us off right now, think about why.
Right.
Because we're going to get into some very serious topics. We're going to get into some very ideological, political subjects.
Yeah, psychological, emotional.
Yeah, and if
spiritual.
Yeah, and if you get upset physically, and if you feel like what we're saying, the word is feel. If you feel like what we're saying holds no merit, holds no water, yet they're facts, then rethink why you think the way you think. What has happened in your life to guide you towards that thought system, towards that belief system? So has your political leaning been who you are? Are you like a liberal? Is that who you are, a liberal? Are you a Republican? That's who I am. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Republican, at heart. Like I'm a card-carrying Republican. What are you talking about? That's what I'm talking about. If you can't hear nuances, if you can't hear truths or facts, then really think about who you're imaging.
Yeah.
What is your image based on,
Are you, and that's one of the things we want to talk about. Are you imaging God, or are you letting whatever ideological structure take over, and is it you running that? You know what I mean? And because that's the only two.
Yeah. Are your politics based on the image of God?
Right.
Or are they based on your emotional feelings?
Our fellow emotional intelligence coach, Mike Davis, I remember I went to one of his services and he happened to be talking about politics, and he's like, dude, I'm neither or, I'm not, I don't subscribe to a politics. He quite simply said, I'm part of the kingdom of God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my politics should reflect what the kingdom of God is, So if the Democratic Party happens to be against that, then I'm against what the Democratic Party stands for. If it's the Republican Party doing that, then I'm against the Republican Party, because our politics should not be derived from whatever human mechanism has replaced.
And for too long, us Christians have been manipulated by Republicans and Democrats, by libertarians, Tea Party, whatever type of party. We've been manipulated to become a part of them, so that way we can wholeheartedly, like in a swath, like go to the voting booth and just downvote.
Right.
This. Not even looking at names.
Right?
Yeah, just boom, boom, boom,
Who
boom,
is he?
boom.
Libertarian. Okay,
Okay,
good.
I'm going to vote for him. Oh, he's Republican. I'm going to vote for him.
Right.
Oh, he's Democrat. I'm going to vote for them. Boom, boom. And we've been manipulated as Christians because of our good nature, because of our disposition to want the happiness of others, right? Because,
we assume too much.
Because Jesus wants us to do that. Jesus wants us to take care of the poor, to take care of all these people.
Right.
And so, but the problem is that we take that too far into our politics, and either we fall to the one who's in front of an altar praying and saying, "Oh yeah, Jesus, this, and I'm gonna run for president, and I'm a Christian 100%." And you know, he's like, "What? Like, what's your favorite book?
Where do I sign, Mr. Barry Cody?"
Like, what's your favorite book?
Yeah.
1 Corinthians. Stuff like that. Stuff like that. You know, and then you go to the other side.
Is that how you guys say it? 1 Corinthians.
1 Corinthians. Yeah, it's the best book ever. And then you on the other side, you say, "What's your favorite book?" "Oh, I like the Bible, but I also like, you know, the Talmud." Or "I like the Talmud, but I also like, you know, all other spiritual books." And you're like, you know what? That person is really open-minded. Yeah. And so you see how these people,
you become very dismissive of a lot of things.
Yeah. You know? And so that's what we are really trying to get with this show, is that hopefully you guys will stick around and listen to all of the show and, you know, really challenge yourself in your mind and in your heart to how you view politics and how we should view politics as Christians, because so many of the times,
and your responsibility to it wherever it is you live.
The responsibility to your fellow citizens that live in and around your city and that go to your schools. Because I know we should get into it. So let's start there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest conspiracies that we mentioned earlier in the show is, you know, especially in the fringe community of Christians.
I was guilty of this.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, me too. I was guilty. Listen to our show. The founding fathers. It's one with Byron Rogers. Yeah. Listen to this episode 4 years ago, the death of patriotism. 4 years ago, and listen to how I speak and listen to how I speak now, and you'll see. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I've changed.
Oh yeah,
because I'm willing to change. I want to change.
I know.
And guess what? In 4 years,
like 2.5 years into it, I was like, man, you changed, bro. Are you even fired to friend anymore? Like, who bought you? You know, who's paying for you now? But
George Soros.
George Soros.
Give me that check, George Soros.
Yeah, dude, did you see that video of the Antifa members outside saying, "Where's my money?" to George Soros? Like, George Soros, where's my money?
If he's paying BLM, he can pay Fire Theft Radio.
Oh, exactly. He's got enough money. We're easily content. Just give us a couple $100 for the
whole year. Buy us a new Rodecaster Pro.
Exactly, just so we can continue podcasting here. But that's one of the biggest conspiracies that I found myself to be changing my mind about it. And this is why where some of you might click off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's fine.
And yeah, and my biggest thing is I've seen now very practically that at the very least at a local level, that my vote really doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
But what's the conspiracy though?
The conspiracy is that your votes don't matter, you know, that we shouldn't be voting either party, you know. The George Carlin view, you know, his comedy's all based on that. Like, you're the idiot that voted him in there. Voting for the lesser of two evils your whole life is just gonna put an evil person there, and whoever's there has a new world order agenda anyways. And you know what? I don't necessarily disagree.
There's
with
truth.
That. You know, there's truth to that for sure. But my biggest thing is that, you know, before I would have said don't vote, you're wasting your time, you know, and now that I see at a local level, like, for example, you Christian, you know, do you like that they're teaching kids to identify as whatever gender they like in your public schools here in America? You see what's going on in Oregon right now, you know, with the shutdown, and they're arresting people for worshiping outside in public. But, you know, you can protest, no problem, you know, and so there's all these obviously things going on. But in the school systems, let's go back to that, the school system stuff. You know, are you okay with them teaching, oh, you know, you can identify as this? Are you okay with having those library school things where they have drag queens teaching them about homosexuality, about how you can identify as whatever? I mean, are you okay with this? No, you're going to say no, right? If you're you know, a sensible Christian or a sensible believer that believes in the Bible, you're not okay with that. You're not okay with that. Now, you got to ask yourself, well, who allowed that to happen? Your local government. Did you vote for your local government? Did you see who was running? Did you see what they stood for? What morals did they stand on? And
sorry, it's because my headphones were too loud.
Oh, okay. Let me fix that. It's okay. We can say that.
Okay.
People, we have a new machine here, and we're figuring it out.
This show's live.
It's pretty
not
much
live for you. It's live for us.
Yeah, but it's like it's a whole different vibe. Y'all don't even know. That's the volume for the mic, and this is the headset right here.
All right, yeah, just lower me down a little bit. Okay. You're good.
Okay, here we go. Let's do it.
You start getting passionate and you start ringing in my ears.
I'm sorry. And so if you never observed or looked into what your local mayor believed in, a lot of believers right now complaining here about Gavin Newsom in California. Well, who did you vote for? Like, how did he get into power? Did you see what were the options? Because if we would have known what this guy's doing, he just passed a law right now saying that we have to put inmates wherever they identify as. So if a woman identifies as a man or a man as a woman, they go to that kind of jail, a male jail or a female jail. That's going to be interesting,
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And not only that, I mean, we're the state that's closed down the most.
Yeah.
And all the churches are closed still kind of officially in the state. And there's counties rebelling against him saying, hey, we're ready to reopen. Yeah. But hey,
Yeah, this is this is a psyop right here. This is if voting, okay? Look, if you're listening here in the United States, okay? I don't know, it's different in other parts of the world, obviously. But here in the United States, we're a constitutional republic.
Oh, yeah. I'm just assuming that.
Everybody's here from the United States. We have listeners all over the world.
Right.
And voting works differently in different places. And here,
but I mean, it's been so crazy here that even people around the world like, no.
Yeah. So we live in a constitutional republic here. So as a citizen, your vote matters. And the psyop is that why even vote if it doesn't matter? If your vote is going to get dismissed because more people are going to vote for that other candidate. Okay. And that's the psyop. The psyop is right there, is that don't even go, don't even vote. And there is some validity to that all these people are being held. So it's kind of like, oh, the president, he's already been picked. He's part of the Illuminati bloodline. Barack Obama, he was already picked because he's part of all the presidents being born. They're all cousins. They're all family. Okay, cool. There is truth to that. I see you, and I agree. Cool. There are certain people that are already picked into positions of power.
Sorry, reminding of Avatar, like
yeah. Whether I see you, whether we choose them or not, some things are just predestined, quote unquote, by the deep state and by the powers that be. Mm-hmm. Okay, but is the deep state hiring or that involved in your local government? Who your aldermans are, who your city council is, who your mayor is, the laws that get passed within your city, your school superintendent, your water resource manager, all these people, they're humans. And guess who picks them? Citizenry. Because if voting wasn't that important, like we've seen recently, we wouldn't have people throwing away votes in the trash,
right,
in the side of ditches.
Like if it didn't really matter.
If it didn't really matter, just think about this.
There wouldn't be all this voter fraud. And
just today, Project Veritas came out with something that in Minnesota, that woman, Omar, the senator, she was paying people to go out and canvass votes. So there's a law that you, as an individual, can pick up 3 other persons' votes by mail. You can pick them up and you can take them to the voting booth, right? But what these people were doing is that they were going out the whole entire day and they were paying people to fill out absentee votes in her name, right? There's proof of this, video evidence. And they were gathering hundreds of them.
Oh, yeah. They were saying, we out here hustling.
We out here hustling. Yeah, you have one person picking out hundreds of them.
Right.
And that's how she got elected. Through cheating.
Right.
That is one example. How many more examples aren't there out here? Country's big, 380 million people.
Like you said, those military votes that they found thrown in the trash, all of them were Trump votes. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So if your vote doesn't matter, why are they cheating? If the game is rigged, why cheat a rigged game?
Right.
Well, then you can say, well, it's just to make you look. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop it right there. Don't let your mind go down that rabbit hole. Once the sense kicks in, once the logic kicks in, stop it. Don't go down because it's only trouble. Stop with the only logical and then, okay, we can move forward.
I think the biggest thing we forget as believers is that, yes, there's a lot of things that are selected by the powers of darkness, the powers that be, right? oh, like for example, Trump has people that work for the Council of Foreign Relations, New World Order type people. You know what I mean? I understand that he has a lot of connections and cahoots. I get it.
His lawyer was the lawyer for Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so
I mean, it's like all these people are connected.
Absolutely. And then you know what I at least like now more than ever is pictures with one person. Like this is like, oh look, I got a picture with this guy over here, and that's supposed proof that he's a douche, or I'm sorry for saying that word, but he's just horrible or whatever. I'm like, dude, I took pictures with horrible people. I didn't know they wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like it was not proof that I'm horrible because of that guy. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is that I like to see more of a paper trail, more evidence, and more,
concrete evidence.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit more evidence.
Because it's
to the matter, but
we're getting off subject.
No, but my point is this, I understand that there are these people there that are New World Order type people, but as believers, we tend to forget that God has also people in those places. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That working against that stuff or through that stuff.
Yeah, just because you're not that interested in politics,
right?
Just because you aren't willing to get a position as a city official, as you're not moved to become a mayor, to become a councilman and alderman, that doesn't mean that everybody's not like that.
Read the Bible. It's the most political book.
Yeah. There are tons of people and there are tons of Christians out there doing the work, doing God's work, doing more work than you and I.
Right.
And I'm pointing to you, listener.
Yeah.
More work than you and I are doing.
I'm glad you said listener. You pointed at me.
And you too. And that have maintained. Because look, I don't know why, and I still have to research this more, but we're very fortunate and blessed to live in this country that was set up by people who were deists, who some of them were in occult societies, yet they set up this system that really gave people not just the illusion, not the illusion that you're free, but actual freedom. Actual freedom. We have amendments and we have the right to exercise them, yet slowly they're being eroded. Here in California, I can't buy any gun I want because the state legislator said, no, that gun looks scary. You can't buy an AR-15 with the pistol grip.
A military rifle, and it's not even a military rifle.
Yeah, and it's like, but wait a minute, the Second Amendment that was set up by these deist, occultist weirdos says I can. So which is higher? Which is the law of the land, the Constitution, or
and I can already hear like a liberal or someone screaming, "Well, they didn't have the guns back then that we have."
Yeah, that's a completely different argument.
But no. But my point is that they did have very powerful guns back then. But
if you lived back then, if you lived back then, there were privateer merchant boats that were pretty much pirate ships working for the Americans that could have cannons on board ships. There were private individuals who had cannons.
They also had Gatling type automatic weapons.
And they had cannons in their hands. So that's not even an argument. The facts are there. So my point being is that these people set this government up, which is very interesting to me. And I still don't know why. I still got to research it further. Wow. And if you guys know about a good book or a good video, just
my
send
simple cop-out answer is I think God sovereignty was involved in there for sure.
And for sure. No, it is. Because think about it. What other country can you have as many rights as we have here? We had here, we want to have here, to voice your opinions, to voice your disagreements, to be able to carry weapons freely, to have freedom of the press, to be able to even, just completely, a lot of people are just defamating the president also. So imagine that. You have the ability and the power to do that. So we're very free here. And I would want to keep it free.
Right.
And in my opinion, from what I've thought about it, is that there's been a lot of Christians, lots and lots of Christians who have been involved in politics. Because if not, this country would be far worse.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, if they take away, and there's a good reason for it, if they take away your ability to worship as a Christian, if they take away the ability for somebody else to worship, they can take away your ability to worship.
Right.
And so,
you know what reminds me when you say that? Even that guy, the pagan 666 dude on
Six and
YouTube,
Hammer?
Six and Hammer.
Yeah, 666.
Even he's like, dude, thank God for the Christians.
Yeah, he's a pagan.
Yeah.
And he understands this. And this is where kind of like my mentality also shifts towards that. It's kind of like, it's kind of like, we've had lots of Christians in power, and being whether they're Christians, quote unquote, yet their belief system is based in Judeo-Christian values. And these Judeo-Christian values have maintained the society that we have today. Yet we have been seeing them slowly erode away and away.
Right.
And that's why we're in the mess that we're in today, because of all the millennials that are our age who grew up without Christian values. They really didn't. Like even people in the 80s, like all the people who were in their 20s and 30s in the 80s, they still had a lot of sense.
Yeah, well,
even though they were children of the boomers, they still had some sort of sense.
Yeah, but there was that Jesus movement in the 70s, which really just kind of helped.
Yeah, it really helped out a lot this country. Yeah, and but people our age were let down a lot. And it's the culture, it's a lot of people that just listen to, what's his name? What's that atheist? Richard Dawkins. That dummy Richard Dawkins out there just talking about, God's dead and this and this and that. And he's like, you don't need God. Laugh at the Christians.
Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah, like, ha, 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 ha. Laugh at the Christians if you see them.
Right, mock them.
Like, okay, see what you made. You see this whole generation? This is what you made. This is what you get for taking God out of schools.
Right.
Taking God out of...
in the 50s, I believe, 60s.
Taking God out of politics.
The Democratic Party saying we're not even going to pray no more, but we want to open with prayer, but not to God. We just want to do our thing.
Yeah, gender neutral, specific, whoever you want, type of God, whoever you want it to be.
Right.
And this is the problem. And so I don't know. I'm hoping that our words are opening up your mind to see politics in a different light right now. That you're really understanding that. It's essential. Yeah,
I like what Mike said when I was there in the service that he was doing. Be a kingdom Republican, kingdom minded as far as biblical means. Be a kingdom Democrat. Be a kingdom libertarian. You know what I mean? Stand for objective morality and not this relativistic approach to, well, I have my truth. And I'm doing that voice a lot today. That's my liberal voice. I have my truth and you have your truth.
Yeah.
But going down that path has really led us there. And I think us as believers, we really have a responsibility at the very least locally, man, to say, hey, man, I got to do something about this,
Because it does matter locally, man. It does. Look, because who is your mayor? Who are your aldermen and councilmen?
Yeah. What do they stand for?
Yeah. Who's in charge of the waste management? Who's in charge of the water? Who's in charge of this? Who's in charge of that? Zonings. Who's in charge of all these things? These are important things. Who's your local sheriff? What does he believe in? If you never vote, yet you complain that your city is trash. If you complain that, oh man, there's a lot of cops out here, or there's not enough cops out here, or why is all of a sudden my son or my daughter coming home with this sex education at the age of 2, at the age of 5? I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but this is true. Like, why is my children coming home?
I've seen some videos of kids getting taught and read this book that's teaching them about anal sex.
Yeah, and orgasms and things like that. And they're like 8 years old.
Right.
So, yes. Why? Because you and I did not involved.
Our due diligence.
And we were not involved. And we weren't there. We didn't go to the parent-teacher meetings. We didn't go to the city meetings. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. When we went, if we ever went to the voting booth,
if and when
we didn't know.
You did the
nothing.
Laws.
Yeah.
Where you didn't stand up. You weren't that, you need to be a Christian Karen in a sense. We're like, yo. No. That's not going to happen. We got to do something about
this. And it's hard.
You know what I mean?
It's difficult. It's difficult to stand up in what you believe in. But look, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Our daughters go to the same Christian school, like the same a private school. And even when they have parent-teacher conferences and meetings, we're all supposedly Christians there. And even then, it's hard to stand up and say something. And we're all believers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we're all believers. Okay. Everybody who goes there understands that they're going to a Christian school. And so you assume that everybody there is either Christian, okay, Methodist, Baptist, Lutheran,
variety
Catholics, lots of, it's a big melting pot of quote unquote Christian. Yeah, but everybody believes in Jesus Christ. Right. And even there's disagreements. Even there's people you look like, what's going on with you, man?
Yeah, what's up?
Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
Who let you in?
Yeah.
And so if that is in a Christian school, I can't even imagine in a public school where I don't know if there people are. And if there are Christians, and your teacher is a Christian, other parents are Christians, guess what? Get with them, talk to them, build each other up, lift each other up, look at the laws that are going to be enacted into, because voting season is coming in. That's exactly why we wanted to do this episode, because voting season is coming in November 3rd. We're all going to go out there and vote. Hopefully you go out there and vote for what? I don't know. Look at your town. Look at the people that are running. Who's going to be your mayor? You know, who's going to be this? Who's going to run for city councilman?
Right.
Look them up. Here in Southern California, I go onto this website and it talks everything you need to know about the different people and the different laws that are going to be put on the ballot for the state of California and for your respective counties. I'm sure that if you just Google it, you'll find some sort of conservative Christian page that will let you know how you can vote morally for the laws and for the people. And if you don't do that, then you are wasting an opportunity to change things
that not a lot of the world has.
No, you're giving an opportunity to change things and for the best. So if we continue to complain, oh, there's, all these people are just a bunch of liberals, or all these people are just this or that, but you don't go out there and do your research and vote. And it doesn't take a lot of time. And a lot of you might be busy. I get that. We're all busy, but it doesn't take a lot of time. A couple nights here and there, do your research, look it up, and then go out there and vote. Vote for these laws. Vote for these laws that will benefit your town and your block and your city. That's what's important.
I'll give you another example. So, you know how we have crazy amounts of wildfires over here in California? I mean, it's been one of the worst years of fires.
Terrible, man.
And I mean, it was like a scene from 2049 Blade Runner, man. Like,
dude, it was crazy. Like, you went out here and it was just orange.
Yeah,
the whole day was just red and orange.
Exactly. And it was scary to see that, man, to be a part of that and to breathe in the bad air, the ash, all that stuff, right? So we have our wonderful governor, so comes out and starts talking about the fires, blames it on global warming, right? Even though most of those fires were started by arson, even though one of the biggest reasons there is fires is because there was laws passed, by a bunch of hippies, pretty much, laws passed that don't allow the maintenance of the forest. Like you can't cut it, you can't cut things down, you can't do maintenance,
Yeah, you can't.
And so because of that, it's built like layers and layers, like feet deep, and many, many thousands of acres of pretty much fuel to burn.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Fuel, yeah.
It's pretty much fuel to burn because they haven't been able to do this. Even President Trump, got a hold of our governor and said, "Hey, man, you should do what they're doing over there in wasn't
Europe,
and two specific countries."
He said Sweden and Norway. I think so.
No,
yeah, Norway.
One of
Sweden
those.
Or one of those.
Yeah, it's either that or New Zealand or something down there, and because they don't have wildfires,
Yeah.
and they have bigger forests than we do. You know what I mean? And it's just like, wow, really? You got to tighten that thing that you loosened.
Oh, my bad, bro.
Yeah, dude, bro, you're messing up the little thing. Okay,
there.
I think you should stick. Yeah, yeah. We're figuring out our new equipment here. You'll see it on the gram. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to be professional.
It is.
We've been Mickey Mousing this podcast for so long. Now it's like,
I don't know what to do.
What do we do with all these fancy bells and whistles? But anyways, again, because he's been, these laws were passed, and it's like, if we would have known or would have done something about it from the beginning, probably wouldn't be in this problem. Probably wouldn't be in this issue. So there's so many avoidable things, and look no further than the Bible for the believers. It's like, how many times did you see people that were in politics that God used that was completely against all social norms, right? That's like almost every huge story in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Moses, that was anti-political, right? We have pretty much every major prophet in the Old Testament was going against the grain politically, and these people, some of them were in office per se, you know what I mean?
Or Jesus,
Well, yeah, he came down and pretty much broke down the entire religious
theocratic system.
Yeah, the religious political structure. You know what I'm saying? And so, if for us to say now in this age, us fringe people, oh, we shouldn't be in politics. That it doesn't even matter. I'm like, dude, read the Bible, bro. We're supposed to be very involved. You know what I mean? And we can't just cop out and say, well, it's all done. Another thing that was bugging me, kind of itching me to remind people is, I've met people that are kind of dispensational dispensationalist, and if you hold that theological view, great. The pre-trib rapture sort of thing. If you left behind situation, and unfortunately, because of it, now I got a little bit of situation in my throat. Because of that, I've seen them not want to vote or not want to do anything. They're like, well, the world's supposed to go to hell anyways in order for Jesus Christ to come back. You know what I mean? And there's nothing we can do about it. It's just, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Dude, you're supposed to be very active here. And because of that's where I start having a problem with your theological views. If it renders you useless. What theological view renders you useless? That's not a godly theological perspective.
It's like that meme where the little dog's inside that burning house and he's like, this is fine. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we're supposed to get raptured and, everything's supposed to be bad.
Yeah.
Any moment fine. Now.
This Look up fine. To the skies. Listen for that horn or whatever, and the trumpet,
And it's very, what's the correct word?
Maybe naive, maybe.
No, it's very
negligent.
Negligent is a good word.
Yeah.
I think that's the word. It's very negligent of us to behave in such a way to where we're saying it's all going to end anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nihilistic.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Because then you don't live for anything. I've gone through a lot of phases and I've been like that.
All you have to worry about is bringing people to the Lord.
Yeah. It's very,
there's more to it, man.
There's way more to it. And I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of being a nihilistic Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, it's all going to burn anyways.
It's going to burn,
And yes, it's all going to burn, but not right now.
You know what's helped me realize it? And I'm sure you can agree, having a daughter,
Yeah, having kids for sure. Changes your perspective completely on life.
You're like, dude, I'm a dummy.
On religion.
I was an idiot.
On politics, just on marriage, on life in general.
Yeah.
When you have children, you're like, no, I don't want people dressing like degenerates in front of my kids.
No. Because when you're
single, when you're single, you walk out in the street and you're like, look at these weirdos and look at this. But when you're a parent, you're like, you hold on to your kid's eyes and you're like, what in the world is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
You even think about going places because you know that there's going to be degenerates there.
Right.
You the culture the way it is, men dressing like women, women dressing like men.
Right.
People are just androgynous in general.
Mm-hmm.
People walking out there with multicolored hair and if you have that, it's fine. But it just in the way they present themselves and the way they act, the way they say things, the way literally just everybody doesn't care and they just say F-bombs and S-bombs everywhere around you. And you're like, I have a kid.
Yeah.
And I've literally have to say that, hey, please, I have a child. Like, can you stop or go away?
Yeah.
Like I've had to say that because people are just unconscionable. They just have they're so self-absorbed. They're so, this is me, that they don't think about the greater good. They're just hypocrites. And when you have kids, it changes everything, man.
Yeah.
And so don't wait to have kids. This is why we're telling you this. Don't wait. Like if you're a young person, don't wait to have, don't wait to have an altered sense of consciousness, to grow higher and to open your third eye more in order to realize in self-awareness, in order to realize that you can make a difference and that you should start now. If you're a teenager, if you're a kid right now listening to us, be self-aware, be more self-aware. Don't wait to have kids to be involved into society in general. And don't let people get away with things too, because if you are timid, if you are just flippant with your morality and with who you are, you're not gonna be a change. You're not gonna do good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's like I said, you're rendered useless. You know what I mean? And that goes for believers and unbelievers alike. Yeah. Look at the results of where we are, where we're at, and ask yourself how we got here. You know what I mean? Yeah. And let's say you don't believe in God. Let's say you're not a believer in God. Then you have no one else to blame but yourself. You know what I mean? It's funny because I've seen, I think I sent you or Marcos an article that even like this atheist historian, he teaches at Harvard.
Yeah.
He's like, man, we really, really, as a Western culture, really need to go back to Christian values.
Yeah.
He still, to this point, he says, I don't believe in an actual spiritual power, but I do believe that Christianity has been the most pivotal, most important thing that's ever happened to the world ever, and we need to stick by it.
If we didn't have Christianity, man, we wouldn't have individualism. We wouldn't have individualism. Mm-hmm. We'd also be incredibly tribal, and whatever happens to the whole happens to the whole. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't be set free as an individual, and your choices matter. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have that. Mm-hmm. And that's the greatest gift that God gave us.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of that gift that we are squandering is our ability to choose things in politics. And it's just bringing it back to that. We really have this freedom here that other countries, other Christians don't have. There's Christians in China that don't have this ability.
You think all the Christians in China want to have the Communist Party in rule? Yeah. Do you think they want to have,
No.
all these oppressive laws against them?
I think I just told you this Chinese lady came up to me and gave me a pamphlet. Pretty much what's it called, banning or disbanding, what is it when you publicly denounce something, the word I'm looking for. Well, she was denouncing the communist Chinese, the Communist Party, and she was saying that they're actually partially at fault for the coronavirus, and the whole pamphlet had this whole thing just like blaming China for all these things, and she is Chinese, you know what I mean, and she's telling me like, you have to like go to the website and vote against this. We got to get rid of the Chinese Communist Party. And I'm just like, wow, she realizes. Why does she realize that? Because she's here in this free country. You know what I mean? And I think that's why we don't realize a lot of the people here, because we have such good freedom.
We squander it, for sure.
Before we get into the election stuff, very specifically, you want to mention what you said about, you heard on the Jocko Willing podcast about what he said about those people in the Middle East and how we assume people, we know what they want, and how they.
Well, I don't know how that ties in right now.
Well, I think it ties in because I think when we want a certain politics, we assume we know what people want, or do you want to save that for something else?
We can save that for something else.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, so it's a little bit sidetracked, I guess, but. All right. Well, if you haven't left yet, I think maybe you'll leave here. We've been listening to a lot of different people. If you don't notice by now, Fire Theft Radio is like a synthesizer of kind of like what Michael Heiser does with scholarly things, we do with research. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're looking at a lot of different people you might not listen to because they're not Christian, which we feel some of them have very valid points on certain things. Like Joe Rogan podcasts and things that are just, more credible, like Commander Fravor situation and the UFO stuff. There's a lot of evidence for a lot of the things that we talk about. We have people like Gary Wayne on and things like that. And so we really just synthesize other people's information and kind of hopefully lead you to it, and you do your own rabbit hole situation here. But one of the guys that we listen to quite a bit, and you send me a lot of his clips, is that investigative reporter that has a podcast now. I forgot his name. Tim Pool. And I've really liked him and the guy that he calls himself Dream Ray. I forgot his real name. Anomaly, but that's another, I think is his rapper name.
Yeah, I think so.
I like their information because they came from the liberal left side. And they are still liberal, but in a more classic sense.
Yeah. And
they understand and realize how far left the liberals have gone and how much they don't make any sense in a lot of things, And one of the last episodes that Tim Pool did is he goes, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah. And it was a long time coming.
Right. It was crazy to just hear him say that. Especially a figure like him, he's a public figure.
Yeah.
He's pretty popular.
Yeah.
He has a really good following on his podcast.
The guy's huge.
He's liberal, but a lot of Democrats and liberals are like, dude, there's no way I'm voting for Biden. Like, there's no way, man. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this.
Sleepy Joe. Yeah, look. I myself, I am not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not a liberal. But I am conservative. I am conservative because
I like that distinction because everything's so terribly polarized. If you're one, you have to be the other, right?
Yeah. No. But I am conservative. If I have to check a box, I'm conservative. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I want to conserve the moral principles on which we have our freedoms. Not specifically Christian, not specifically religious to one group or another, favoring one certain denomination or group or another, but the principles into which we're all created equal, into which I do me, you do you, leave me alone. Mm-hmm. But if it's going to affect society at large, no, stop it. Mm-hmm. Slap your hand, stop it, stop it. That's pretty much it. Mm-hmm. And that's what I subscribe to, you know? And
OG America.
I guess, yeah.
Well, I guess. Mean, at least that's what it seemed the intention was, you know, like you get your land, you do your thing, we'll leave you alone, you know, just, you know. As long as
you know, you have your lifestyle, and that's fine. But if your lifestyle or your way of thinking is inhibiting the rest of society, then you need to stop, you know, and that's in general. I feel like that's from my point of view right now, that's the best way to go. You know, if there's others, I'll discover them later because I have an open mind.
So let me play the devil's advocate here. You know what I mean? What would you say to the people? Like, let's just assume you're voting for Trump, you know?
Yeah. No, I'm voting for Trump.
Okay. Well, you're voting for Trump. So what would you say? I come up to you, you know, coming from the fringe perspective, coming from any perspective, but you know, I'm saying to you, well, let's say I ask you, well, why are you voting for him? And then you say, well, he's the lesser of two evils. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's one of the things that people say, you know? And then, you know, their comeback is like, well, voting for the lesser of two evils just gets you more evil in the long run, you know? But I mean, what do you think of that? What would you say to that? If I'm like, that's just the lesser of two evils, but that's not a good thing. You know, what do you say to me?
I just say you just have to do your research more. Mm-hmm. That's my argument. That's my argument for anything. And if then you can't look past it, well, then I don't have to convince you. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not my responsibility to convince you. Mm-hmm. It's my responsibility to give you the information.
Kind of the beautiful part of this country.
Yeah. Like, it's my responsibility to give you. This is why we do this podcast.
Right.
Is to give you the information, is to give you, the listener, the information. Mm-hmm. That's all we do. We lead you. You know, we say, hey, here's this road. Go down it. You might like it, you might not, but go down it. Mm-hmm. Discover for yourself. And that's what I do. I don't argue with people. Right. I find it to be very wasteful of my time.
It is. I mean, they're so loaded, the arguments.
Yeah, I can waste my time by playing video games and I'll have a better time.
A lot of straw man arguments.
Yeah, because once you start, it's like, and I've had lots of conversations with family members.
You're going to vote for a crouch toucher?
Yeah. Like, I've had conversations with family members. Yeah. I've had conversations with cousins, with friends, all these people. And it's always the same thing. Mm. And I tell them, look, I'm not trying to convince you. And it's funny because it always comes from them.
You're right.
And it's like, look, I don't want to convince you. And this is the way I handle it. It's like, I'm not trying to convince you. You asked. So I'm saying, and these are the reasons why. Mm-hmm. If you don't like them, I can't do anything about them. Mm-hmm. Look it up for yourself. Well, I have this and this and that. Okay. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to convince me? Mm-hmm. Because if you are, you're not going to convince me. I'll look into what you're saying and maybe it'll convince me. Mm-hmm. And then I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. But it's like you don't get bees, with vinegar. You get them with honey. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people just love to slander. A lot of people like to take the words like racist. A lot of people like the word bigots, Oh, yeah. And I've been called that.
You?
Yeah.
You're a bigot.
Yeah. I mean, like, dude, you
sounds about right.
Yeah. Like, you're a bigot because why are you racist for voting? And I'm like,
yeah.
What?
Like, bro, you know me my whole life.
Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, expand on that word because people get lost in words,
Right. Well,
people get lost in words. And so that's how I go about those arguments is that, and it goes back to the very beginning of the episode. If you're convinced of something, and you don't have nuance,
can't prove
you don't have wrong. The nuance to see things, it's fine. God bless you. Have a great day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we can't have a conversation, but if you're willing to have a conversation, then we can go somewhere because guess what? Maybe I'll learn something new, some information. You'll learn something new, and we'll both come out better for it.
Yeah.
Because that's the goal. That's what I want. I want you to come out better for it, and I want to come out better for it. I don't want to convince you. I want both of us to get something from this conversation. But a lot of the people with politics, you can't have these conversations, especially when you insert Donald Trump, because people already have preconceived notions.
Yeah.
You know, and my point of view is that look, I'm not married to the guy. Okay, I'm not his family. He's not my idol. I don't worship him. You know, he's just a man. And from what I've seen is that he's doing a lot more and has done a lot more for people and for myself than the last presidents have done. Okay. He's not perfect. And the way I see it is I imagine like David. David was not the perfect person. David was like, who was he? He was an adulterer. Yeah. He was a murderer.
Yeah.
Right? He was a lot of bad things.
I mean, those two things in and of itself.
Yeah.
That was the king and leader of Israel.
Like, he's a literal murderer. Okay. Yeah. Like he
conniving.
What did he do? He premeditated the murder. He's like, oh, I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to send him to the front lines. Some other guy's going to kill him. And guess what? I'm going to stay with Bathsheba. I'm going to stay with her. This is the trick. This is the plan. And he did it.
Yep.
He did it. And probably after that, guess what? On Saturday, he went to temple. On Saturday, he went stood in front of the ark. He's like, oh, God, I love you, God.
Burning lambs or burning whatever.
Burning whatever. And meanwhile, in the back of his head, he's like, oh, this guy's going to go there tomorrow. He's going to die.
Yeah.
Look at him. Yeah, what did God say? God said, you're a man after my own heart. After he did all this crazy stuff. That's insane.
It is, man.
Look at Jacob. He had 12 wives. God didn't want you to have 12 wives, but he had them. And what happened?
Don't even bring up the concubines of all the kings.
Solomon's.
You know?
Look at Solomon. How many women? 900 women.
Yeah.
I mean, and these people were put by who?
Moses is basically a murderer too, you know?
People were put by who? By God.
Yeah.
Oh, but Omar, these people were put in there predestined by God for their position. Listen, I get that.
He still does that, though.
He still does that. You don't believe in God?
Allowed this to happen. Like, you know what I mean?
That's where I'm coming from, people.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, please let me know. You know? Shoot me an email. We can talk about it. But this is from everything that I know.
If you're triggering someone, this isn't from a place of ignorance. We understand all the connections. We understand, you know, the conspiratorial aspect of
We've been doing this for 5 years, people.
Even longer than that. That's how long we've been, you know,
on the air for almost 5 years.
Right. You know what I mean?
Doing the research, 8 years. Yeah, like, man. We've been in this deep.
Yes, for a long time. So we understand.
I sat down with the Mad Hatter. And I drank tea for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, for years I sat there. For years I sat there. So we understand.
Almost forgot who I was, man.
I did forget who I was.
Actually, yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Doing the research, I got to the point.
I forgot who you was, man.
Dude, I got to the point where.
I was like, he's out of his mind.
Yeah. And so we understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not because we're naive, we're ignorant, or because we're idolizing a human. No. It's because we've done both our research into the occult, into the
New World Order
stuff, and into the theology, into how the Bible should be read, and everything that goes. And when you put it all together, you see
sovereignty tops them all,
and you realize that guess what? God can do whatever he wants, man. Yeah. And God can work through whoever he wants. Yeah. And God doesn't have to ask you, and God doesn't have to show you in a dream. Okay? God doesn't have to tell you anything. He just does it.
Right.
And if he wants to, he will. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. And if he wants to use you, he can use you. And if he doesn't want to use you, he won't use you.
Correct.
That's just the way God is.
Right.
So whatever we think in our in our finite, you know, infantile minds about what God is and who should God use and what he should do,
right?
It doesn't matter. It don't matter. It doesn't matter, people.
Oh, gosh.
Look, God is on the throne.
Yep.
And no one's ever going to move him from there. They've tried.
Yeah.
You You know, they built a tower.
Literally tried.
They built a tower to try to zap them.
Celestial beings and
they built a tower.
beings.
They built a tower to try to. One dude one day said, "I will sit there on high, on the throne of the Lord,
above the Most High.
I will be above." He said that, and he tried it. Guess what? Nothing happened.
Couldn't do it, man.
Not even snapping of a finger. No, God just listen. He is in control. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. God's in control. All we got to do is do our due diligence, go out there, vote, pray.
Yep.
And watch history unfold. And watch history unfold. Watch God unfold. And if God is using Trump, which honestly, 100% in my opinion, this is my opinion, I think he is.
Oh, there it said.
But it's not.
Thank you for following us for as much
It's not in
time.
this. But it's not in this like naive sense, like oh yeah, because
like the MAGA rally I accidentally went to last week, where I was like, I thought this was a Wednesday Bible study. In
I know,
church,
right?
And it was a MAGA rally.
It's not in that naive sort of sense of like, God gave through Trump, and he's gonna make the Israel. He made the what is it? Oh, he made the he made Jerusalem. The capital.
He's like Cyrus.
He's like he made them, and then the Jews and Israel and God. No, I get that, man. Like, look, Israel shouldn't be Israel. Okay. Israel.
You're gonna make the evangelicals mad now, bro.
Israel shouldn't be Israel.
Right.
Israel is not God's country.
Right.
We're all God's country.
Yeah, that's true. It's all been
who's all the 12 tribes?
All of us now.
Me, you.
Yeah, grafted in.
I'm grafted in. We're all part of God's.
Well, not really.
We're all part. We're all part.
Yeah.
We're all Israel.
Yes.
Israel is no longer this temple. Why? Because God destroyed it. Israel is no longer Jerusalem. We are the temple. We are the people. We are it.
Yeah.
God's not specifically still, I'm working through the Jews and this and no. Why do you think Paul went out throughout the whole world? For what? To bring in the called, the elected. We're all
the nations.
All the nations of the world.
Yep.
It's like, God's chosen people, the Jews, like you stay up 3 o'clock in the morning and then you're watching that guy saying, for $5.99 a month, you can bring back the Jews back to their homeland.
They need to go there.
And it's like, bro,
it's prophecy.
Dude, that is a political ploy in order so they can bring in more Jews so that way they can continue settling the West. They need more people in Israel, okay? To make more buildings,
right? To
continue pushing the border of Jordan and Palestine and Jordan.
It's an expansion.
It's an expansion project. People, God doesn't want you to do that. Stop listening to that dude at 3 o'clock in the morning, sending your money to Israel. I feel
you right now.
Stop
you
it.
Want to give?
It's political, people.
You want to give?
It's political. Okay, yes. Listen to us. It's political. They're using your Christian faith.
And more importantly, theologically incorrect.
Exactly, theologically incorrect. More importantly, they're using you. Yep. You're being used, okay? It's like, if you have an Israel flag next to an American flag in your church, something's wrong, people. Something's wrong.
Oof, yeah.
I mean, I don't know why I should hold back.
No,
I already went all out.
No, you're right.
And it's like,
we're
all Israel. Yeah. All of us.
Yeah. I mean, it really goes back to what Jesus did.
If Israel was God's people, it wouldn't have the highest concentration of homosexuality.
Per capita, correct.
Right?
Right.
Tel Aviv.
We have the gayest city in the world, San Francisco. They have the gayest country in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So also they have one of the highest atheists count per capita.
Yes. So they don't let you openly preach the Bible in Israel.
They don't.
But they're God's people.
They do not like Christianity whatsoever. Many of the ones that are open about it are like, dude, we use you for business.
Yes.
Thank you for coming over here and giving us your money. We'll walk you around. That's where Jesus was. Now give me money.
Yeah.
And so forth and so forth. But it's just all a business.
It's all business. It's all politics, people.
Yep.
It's theologically incorrect. Look into it. I'm not saying out of ignorance. I'm not speaking out of bigotry or hatred or racism. I'm speaking out of pure factual evidence. Look into it. And I'm not saying that Jews are evil people. No. And if that's what you're listening to, you're not listening to. People are evil, period. I don't care if you're black or white.
I know. I'm about to say, you're an anti-Semite. That's what it is.
Even that's made up by them in order to continue.
That's propaganda for sure. Don't get me started on my World War II stuff right now. Oh,
it's all propaganda.
That's it. We will for sure lose followers with that one. You know what I mean? But
it's all propaganda, man. And that's what we're trying to say. I don't know how we got deep down this rabbit hole, but
God led us, bro.
I guess so. I was talking about God and Trump.
Yeah. And how he's the God Emperor Trump.
And he's the God Emperor. He'll reign for 1,000 years. No, just kidding, everybody. Look, if you don't know me personally, I kid around a lot.
Yeah,
I mess around a lot. We do. And what you hear on this podcast is I'm at 50% of my power.
This is not even full capacity.
No, dude. And you know that, Chuck.
You're Super Saiyan still another level two or three up.
You know in real life, we'd get along.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Well.
Yeah,
you know that I come always from a good place, that I'm very well meaning, and that I have nothing but love and respect for all of you listeners. And I love you guys, and I pray for you guys.
Absolutely.
And this is a blessing for us to do this, and an opportunity for us to just be here in this place and speak to you guys with an open heart. And it's pretty much what it is, you know. And that's why. That's why I see, like, everything that we're saying, just think about it, all these politics, all these conversations that we're having, look at it through God's eyes. Mm-hmm. Look at it through the eyes of God and how he works.
Mm-hmm. Why, I would say conservatives, if you're conservative or if you're, leaning towards that way, why are they systematically suppressing anything conservative? Like why is that happening around the world? And getting back into the political aspect, like if you're, I think we mentioned this, like if you consider yourself woke, but on the left, if you're like one of those, we need Bernie in office, we need, the woke left, the whole, non-binary, gender fluidity. If you're one of those people, if you're one of those people, and if you think that your movement is that you're woke, but your movement is backed by corporate billionaires, you are on the wrong side, my friend. You know what I mean? Think about that, Think about that, because we have people like Antifa, BLM, who have already been tied to George Soros money, New World Order type folks, you know what I mean? Openly saying, we want to destroy Western civilization. Recently, BLM removed their kind of admission statement or whatever it is.
Yeah, their mission statement.
That's saying that we want to destroy the Western family and all that.
Nuclear family.
All that whole thing. And they removed it. You know what I mean? And I remember I took pictures of it. I got a screenshot of it because I couldn't believe that right in the beginning, you'll go to the website, it says it right there what their plans is to do. And we had Christians backing it based on an emotional response to racism, to quote unquote racism, or what they're portraying as racist acts on television. You know what I mean?
That one of the most disheartening things is seeing Christians on social media backing all of these organizations who want absolutely nothing to do with them, who despise you for believing what you believe in.
Right.
To me was completely disheartening. To me and it's not even like, I want to say that these Christians are well-meaning, but at this point I don't. I think one thing, no, I'm not going to say that. One thing is being ignorant, right? Mm-hmm. And another thing is being willfully ignorant. Mm-hmm. And I believe that a lot of the Christians that I saw online are willfully ignorant because it makes them feel good.
I personally feel like
they want to follow culture.
Yeah. And if they don't really stand by truth, they don't know what truth is, and they replace it with this nonsense. You know what I mean?
It's like when George Floyd got killed by that police officer, the backlash that came from it afterwards was insane, Right. I mean, I'm all for us protesting. I'm all for people using their amendment rights to gather and to, disrupt the daily going-ons of people. Fine, but in a peaceful way. Not looting.
I always
and
skip
rioting.
that part.
Not rioting and looting.
Peaceably.
Yeah, but peaceably for sure. I've never been to anything like that. But if I was so invested,
I don't have time to write my feelings on.
No, I don't, bro. I've never had enough time to go and say, on a piece of cardboard and go, I feel like this, and then
justice for Lindsay,
justice for yeah, like that. I've never felt that passionate about something.
Yeah, and
if you have, well, good for you. But the way these Christians were reacting to that, man, it was just. I mean, you had Christians. Famous Christians. You had famous
like
rappers. Yeah, you had Christian rappers like Lecrae, who have a lot of influence into the young people, who have so much influence into the young Christian generation.
Yeah.
He was saying that white the Christianization of churches have been white, and
the whitewashing
of Christianity.
Yeah,
and I read the articles, and I listened to him, and I understand it. But he comes not from a place of wanting to do well. He comes from a place of ego and hatred. It really does. It comes from not a place of like, you know what? And I understand him that the way church is done here in the United States is very quote unquote white. It's very Western in the way. It's very programmed, you know, because if you go to a Baptist church, a Southern Baptist church, it's very different than if you go to a white church in Arkansas, or I mean a white church in even in Orange County. It's different. They're done differently, right?
Right.
And I get that understanding, because even all of us are doing church differently than what the apostles did. You know, who's to say how the way it should be done? Because they didn't really write it down, right? But for him to say that, to me, was very malicious, man.
Yeah.
Was not good at all. And it's like, dude, you know, you're sounding very bigoted, you know, in the true sense of the word.
Right.
Bigoted. He's sounding very bigoted. And then you see all these other Christians who were kneeling in front of black people and washing their feet and praying in front of them and asking them for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because
for being white.
For being white and for having enslaved their ancestors in the past. Do you know how absurd that sounds? It's absurd, man. It's absurd that, okay, you're a Christian. When you come to Christ, all your sins are forgiven. Right? All your sins are forgiven.
Well, except for those.
Except for those?
Don't you know? You know? I mean,
yeah. It's like me.
Yeah, no, Jesus' blood.
It's like
Jesus' blood don't erase white sin.
It's like me asking the forgiveness of a. It's like me going to Spain,
right,
and telling a Spaniard, "Hey, bro, your ancestors conquered half of my people,
raped and pillaged our lands.
Not even, because I'm not even 100,
right,
Mexican
genetically, right.
I'm like 49%,
right,
Native American,
right.
You oppressed half of me,
right.
I need for you to say sorry to me
and reparations
because of what happened. All those,
give me some of that Euro Spanish money.
Yeah, hundreds of years ago, you know,
right.
And it was even worse.
But it
was way worse than what they ever did to the to the slaves here in America. Way worse, like genocide, literal genocide, complete genocide to my great grandpappy.
Right.
Yes. Or my grandma, you know, and it's kind of like,
vaya con Dios.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, it's absurd,
right,
as a Christian to want that absolvence. I don't need your absolvence because I have a higher absolvence. I have somebody who's even greater than you to give me justice and mercy.
Imagine the disciples got Jesus' message and immediately go out for social justice and saying, no. We need, because you guys been oppressing us. You know what I mean? No, dude, they were like, dude, no, we're here. We're not of this world. Our kingdom is not of this world. It's not about this. It's not about this social political justice here. You know what I mean? It's not about that, man. You know, we're not here for that. I'm not here. You know, dude, it's insane.
Yeah, and so get into it because you see these Christians, and this is what I want to talk about, is like you see these Christians like literally on their knees asking for forgiveness for something they had nothing to do with, just because they happen to be the color of their skin they are. You didn't choose that. You think I want to choose to be who I am? Bro, I'd be 6'3", blue eyes, son of a wealthy billionaire.
Looking Nordic, son.
Dude, I'd be like a Rothschild.
Yeah.
If I could choose it, why not?
What's that? Those that beautiful looking it's the Nordic aliens, right?
Yeah.
Like the ones that are just
exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, you don't choose it. It's up till now, what we know is just randomness. Maybe God has something to do with it, but we don't know.
I think what you might about Larry Elders, but that fool destroys all of the myths in the black community.
Larry Elders is the man, dude. Him and Thomas Sowell.
Yeah, man.
Thomas Sowell, Larry Elders.
All these arguments. All these arguments of like, we are repressed. I'm like, really? Because, you know, dude, even you seen the ones they did with Lil Wayne. You know what I mean? Yeah. The guy's like, hey man, how do you feel about police brutality and all that stuff? And he tells a story about how he accidentally shot himself at his house, and the cops come, you know, and they break through the door and they all start searching for drugs, run right over him while he's bleeding out, dying. You know, one of the cops says, hey dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? We have to take this guy to the hospital. It's like, oh, we already called the ambulance. No, if we don't take him to the hospital, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
And that cop drove him to the hospital and made sure that he stayed with him until he was good, you know? And he's like, and then he said, and the guy that took me was white as snow. You know, all the dudes that jumped over me, all the dudes that left me there to die, they were all black. And he goes, I don't know anything about racism. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know anything about racism.
Yeah, he's just, well, I don't know everything. He sounds like a gremlin slash. I don't know what he's just, but
it sounds like he has autotune on at all times.
Yeah, he does. He kind of does, to be honest. And then, but anyways, I mean, you see his success, right? And in another interview, they asked him, he's like, how do you feel about looking into the crowd? And you said that you looked out and you saw a sea of white people raising their hands and dancing to your music. How do you feel about that? And he goes, well, I would assume that answers your question on whether racism is real or not. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, this guy's smarter than you give him credit. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
people want to look for things where they're not.
Right. And
people love projecting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so, that isn't to say there isn't racism, you know what I mean? But I mean, we bring these things up because that's literally a lot of the arguments to say we can't vote for Trump. You know, this
is reality. This is life, people.
You know,
like
we can't.
Like this is not a type of podcast where it's all fluff or like we feel or no. It's like this is reality. This is life. This is what's happening on right now. This is what's on our mind.
Yeah. And you know, this is one of the many arguments like, hey, we can't vote for Trump because he's a racist. Really, because he just decided he did a bill right now signing that he's going to, you know, give the black communities like what, 500 billion over a period of time, you know, or the thing that he signed with Goya saying that he's going to help Hispanic communities so they can go to better schools and go to choose the school that they want, not the school that is just whatever ghetto they get, and they can get better education. You know what I mean? And not to mention the thriving economy that started when he came into office that was tanked because of the coronavirus, which is I think is one of the reasons that came about, to be honest. And then
for sure.
Oh yeah, you know, this was just a ploy to destroy the economy.
Yeah, they call it the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly, the pandemic. And
because we were in the best economy. Look, I was going to school. I was doing good, man.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I was doing good. Everything was looking up.
Yep.
And then, boom, not just me. Millions, hundreds of millions of people like me.
Yep.
Just it all ended. All of a sudden, just ended. Just plant people.
And just like that, we're dependent on social programs, you know, to pretty much tank.
And a couple of months before that, what was the buildup? Oh, we're going to release 8,000 prisoners. Oh, we're going to release 9,000 prisoners. Oh, we're going to release this. We're going to release that. Oh, this, oh, that. And guess what? Everybody shut down. And then what happens? What happens when you're home, stuck, nothing to do? Bored, no meaning, no purpose in your life.
A bunch of criminals released all over the country.
And then all of a sudden, this dude steps on the neck of this other dude who told him to step on his neck. Okay, not step on his neck, but you know, to hold him down. And then he dies. What happens? That's like, dude, you're just like
which he was saying, I can't breathe before he got to the ground. By the way, because
there's a full video. There's a full video.
Anyways,
obviously he shouldn't have died. The cop shouldn't have done what he done. But it was all planned. It's like this perfect storm. And then all of a sudden, boom, let's light the fuse. And guess what? Riot after riot. And all these same people who were let out of jail, right?
Companies
and all the criminal, all the legality that will hold these criminals in jail for doing what they were doing disappeared.
Right.
No more jail time.
Right.
No more jail times, no more federal crimes. All of a sudden, everything is just what? Slap on the wrist, get out.
Yep.
Not even bail, nothing.
Perfect
get
timing.
Out. Just get out.
Exactly. And the criminals that go in get just sent right back out. No big deal.
Yep.
I mean, it's too perfect. Coincidence is a residue of design, my friend. We cannot say there's all these coincidences. You cannot tell me I'm a conspiracy theorist and not look into these things. Because that's one of my biggest pet peeves is I tell you something, I can give you the facts, and then you're like, no, that's a conspiracy.
Because it goes back to it, man. Orange Man bad.
Orange Man bad.
It goes back.
Orange Man
it goes back and back.
Yep.
It goes back to the same thing. You've become
you know
who you. It's kind of like it's like the
it's like you said earlier. It's projecting.
It's projecting. It's like when Harvey Dent told Batman, you know, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain.
Yeah.
Are you the villain now? Are you the Christian villain in your own life, in your own story?
I remember seeing The Joker back in 2019.
I still haven't watched it.
Okay, well, long story short, I saw it and I said, if this movie, first of all, filled with occult symbolism all over the place. Second, it was a picture of the political situation that we had back in 2019. The cult, the buildup, the buildup,
bubbling,
exactly, and a crime happened in the movie that made the entire world basically go into chaos and riots everywhere, you know? And I saw that movie and I went with a friend of mine and I was like, I really hope I'm wrong, but I think this is a precursor for 2020. And then she was like, that's your conspiracy theories. That's crazy. You know what I mean? But look at, dude, it's exactly what happened. A crime happened. Everything that was bubbling up politically, all the stuff in the background just exploded into this, and riots and chaos everywhere. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, sometimes I don't like to be, I mean, I definitely don't like to be right about those situations, but it's like these Hollywood movies are precursors to things, you know?
Yeah. And that's why, you know, that's why I stand where I stand, because there's just so much information out there. And if you guys just look into it,
I personally
and we know
think,
it's hard, it's difficult, but
yeah, I personally think Biden's going to win this next election. Even our audience doesn't agree with that.
We have a little switchy board here, and we have a bunch of little stuff on there.
Yeah, it has a laugh track. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I don't believe that. You know. But.
No, I mean, if people don't go out and vote, honestly, that's what's going to happen. And this is not me saying you should vote for Donald Trump or you should vote for Joe Biden.
Vote.
This is me.
Do your diligence.
Yeah, this is me expressing my point of view and where I come from. And hopefully, and not trying to convince you, but just airing out and informing you, listener. And hopefully you go out and you really look into things, you know, but go out there and do and vote, you know? Mm-hmm. And honestly, from my point of view, I'm glad Hillary Clinton didn't win.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've seen everything that's been connected to her.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen the Podesta emails.
If you haven't, WikiLeaks Podesta emails.
We've seen the FBI.
Epstein, her husband been to Epstein Island 3 or 4 times on Alita Express, tied to pedophile rings.
And we've seen all these things.
Kids disappearing with the Clinton Foundation, well over 50 or 60 of her friends committing suicide, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to be her friend. My goodness gracious. You know?
And then you see... You see Joe Biden also, who's been in power for 40 years and who relatively has done absolutely nothing. And
except put a record amount of black people in jail with his crime bill.
Yeah, with his crime bill in the 90s. Yeah, with him and Bill Clinton. And so you see all these things, and then you see somebody like, you know, the current president, and you see what he's done and what he's done. And then you can, you know, make your own judgments by that. But I really hope he doesn't win. You know, and tonight's going to be the debates. Tonight's the first presidential debates.
It's going to be hilarious, dude.
It's
going to be hilarious. It's like you said last time. I think Joe Biden's going to have to take an overdose of adrenochrome.
Listen, I love chaos. If you don't know me, obviously you don't know me.
Dude, he can't make a freaking sentence.
Dude, obviously you guys don't know me. Well, you know me from the podcast.
Right.
But if you'd hang out with us, you know that I love chaos. To me, it's fun.
Hey, man, there's no order without chaos, right?
Yeah. And so I'm so orderly because I enjoy the chaos. And that's why I enjoy watching Donald Trump do what he does, because I enjoy the chaos. Yeah. I enjoy people flipping their heads. I enjoy people doing backflips when he says things, because they're like, how?
The lady, when he got elected, that lady stayed forever a meme, dude. She was like, nah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, people become immortalized in memes.
Oh, yeah, man.
And to me, it's entertaining watching all of these career politicians get their up and comings, get what they deserve.
Right.
Get some sort of retribution and justice. Get all these journalists, quote unquote, who have been peddling the New World Order and the deep state agenda for years, finally getting told, you fake news, you got to get out of here.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Right.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Mm-hmm. And if you don't realize that as somebody who's obviously conspiracy theorist because you're listening to us right now, come on, man.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Come on. If you have the most powerful man in the planet.
Well, his new press secretary is ridiculous.
Yeah, coming out and saying, you know, the deep state is here. And, I know a lot of people who want to continue these wars. He said, I know a lot of people who continue these wars. And he looks across the room and he said, look, Lockheed Martin, you want to continue the wars, but we can't. We just can't. Bro.
Dude, yeah.
Like, what else do you want?
That's hardcore, man.
That's something that you fantasize about.
Yeah, yeah.
If I was ever in a room with Lockheed Martin, with Lockheed Martin, and over there with all with Sikorsky, I'd tell him, hey man, you're the deep state.
Yeah,
I would never do that.
Well, no.
You wouldn't. But guess what? You finally have somebody.
I wouldn't. I'm scared out of my mind.
Yeah, you finally have somebody who's willing to do that.
Yeah,
and who's said that multiple times, who's gone against big pharmaceutical companies.
Ooh, that's another thing.
Big pharma. And he said, hey, I got to go a couple of days because I'm putting out this bill to where, guess what? Now you used to have to pay for medicine $3. You're gonna get it now for wherever you can find it the cheapest in whatever country.
Yeah, because like he would say, hey, there's stuff that Mexico's getting for a few dollars and we're paying thousands or hundreds over here. Yeah. That's crazy. Why? Because of these middlemen pharmaceutical.
Yeah. He's like, who are these middlemen?
Yeah.
Do you know who they are?
You know?
And he asked the question. He's like, you know who they are? He looks around the room. You know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Yeah, exactly. So now, if it could be a few dollars over there, it should be like that for the American people.
Yes, and now it is.
They need to stop taking advantage of the American people and its economy over here and charging us ridiculous amounts for medicine, right? And of course, after that, he was like, hey, I'm out of here. Dude, who's done that? No one's done that. That's crazy, dude. I mean, going up against people like that,
But you don't understand. He's racist.
He's a racist, right?
He's a bigot. He hates also, Mexicans.
For some reason, loves to save children as well. He's the only one of the few that comes out publicly, always talking about, hey, man.
Within the last 3 years, he shut down more child trafficking than all the 8 years combined of Obama, and still blows it out of the water.
Right. He did that actually in the first year of office. He passed his numbers in the first year of office that Obama did in all 8 years. You know what I mean? So, I mean, come on, man.
Listen, people, God will use whoever he wants.
Yeah.
Let's get over ourselves.
Yeah. And do your diligence, and you decide what you want to do with your ability.
God, if we were in the past, me and you would be like, but how's God use David? Look at him. He's a murderer, man. Yeah. Be like, bro, remember? Didn't he kill that guy? Didn't he sleep with that woman? Remember? And then his son died? Bro, is God even with him? And you'd be like, no, Omar, God's with him. I'm like, no, man, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And then I lift up my tunic and I walk away.
There's no such thing as grace.
And I walk over there and then, just like with my little hat walking into my house.
Bro, you were like this, what's it called? Just roamer, bro. You were just roaming. I would see you every now and then with a different hairstyle every time, beard, and I'm like, dude, is he all right? Like, is he still at home? Does he still live at the same house? I don't know.
You go over there, you knock on my wooden door, my goat greets you. My sheep. I don't got no goats. I'm a Jew.
A shotgun comes from above, like, who is it?
Who is?
I'm like,
a spear falls down.
Dude, imagine! Oh my gosh,
so dope. But yeah, this is what we're talking about, people.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Do you have more to say, or
no, man? I think we're good. I think we've talked our ears off.
Yes.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. I do actually. I'm going to save it for the next time because we were already kind of went over the hour, and usually these firesides aren't usually more than an hour, but I got an entertainment breakdown, or should I make those available with the Patreon? Can we do that, Omar? I like that idea where we make a little bit stuff available, and like if they want to listen to more.
Yeah,
it's just kind of harder. Okay,
we can do that.
I'm not gonna lie to you. We suck at the Patreon stuff. Like everybody knows. I probably have the most boring Patreon page I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? But yeah. It's just the truth. Okay? But more and more things I have available for our listeners. If you guys have listened to us for a while, first of all, I got these awesome.
I updated our website like 2 months ago. That was pretty legit.
It does look good, honestly, and what it can do. It looks pretty nice.
Go on there, FireTheftRadio.com. FireTheftRadio.com.
But can we put merch on there though?
There is a link for a merch store.
No, but not the merch store. The stuff that I have, because I have extra stuff. I have the books. Remember?
Oh yeah, take pictures and send it to me.
And all that stuff,
take the pictures, send them to me.
You know what I mean? And then
I could send the pictures to me, and then I'll put a PayPal link /store on there. That way people can purchase them, and then we can mail them out to them.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing. I know some of you guys don't want to subscribe with Patreon because it's a monthly thing. Or some people, what they did was they subscribed for 1 month. They gave us like $60, and then they canceled it just to give us $60 for that month. If that's something that you like to do, I'm not saying 60. You can be anything like $1, $2, $3. Doesn't matter.
And it helps out people, and it really does.
It really does. Look at the gram and see what we've purchased.
Yeah.
I'm just being being honest, this is all out of pocket.
It took 4 years.
It took a long time, you know what I mean? Because we're doing it, you know what I mean? And if you guys help us out, I can provide more stuff. We have some plans of doing, and go back to a lot of our episodes. Our listeners are probably tired of our promises, but it's because we need funding. You know, we definitely do. It'll help us out because we even wanted to do some live streams, and of course we need some cameras for that and just a different setup. And I have the ability to do that now. So, especially with this new awesome Roadcaster, and it's pretty magnificent. I'm not gonna lie, you know. Yeah. You can go to Patreon. You can. And when we set up the PayPal, we'll let you know. But you can email us for now at firetheftradio@gmail.com. I got books signed by Gary Wayne, books signed by Tracy Yates. I got books signed by William Ramsey. Tracy Yates talks about the Matrix and the alien agenda. Gary Wayne talks about the Genesis 6 conspiracy. William Ramsey has books about the Children of the Beast of Aleister Crowley and the 9/11 occult symbolism there. All had to do with Crowley magic and all kinds of stuff like that. I have keychains that say FTR, and we're working on t-shirts and things like that. You can go to our Redbubble, go to redbubble.com/firetheftradio, correct? And then you can check our merch store there. But I'm also making our own merch so that you can, if you want to purchase through PayPal or through things like that, email us at firetheftradio@gmail.com. If you want to, tell us why we should not vote or have that kind of conversation, same email, hit us up at Fire Theft Radio on Instagram or Chuck FTR. I'm available. People message me quite a bit. And if you know me, I answer you as soon as possible, as soon as I can.
Don't message me because I won't answer you.
Oh yeah. You don't even answer me. I got to call you. It's like, is he still alive? Is he there? I got to go visit you and everything, man. It's hard to get a hold of you, But that's all we got for you guys. On the next episode, what I want to do is I wanted to give you an entertainment breakdown, and we had our friend from the band Slave to Servant, or you might know him as Samuel, from God's Property Radio back in the day.
Yeah, Sam Swanson.
Sam Swanson. He has a band called Slave to Servant, and he's been working with us to make some jingles for us. And we're gonna do some stuff go back to our old ways of the entertainment breakdown. And actually, is relevant to this. I wanted to do a Chadwick Boseman entertainment breakdown and
Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda Forever, man. He will be missed, but some interesting connections on him dying. And obviously he was the Black Panther, and there was just a lot going on in the background that seems to be connected to the actual Black Panthers and this movement, of the Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. So a lot of interesting things there, and but we'll save that for the next episode.
Oh yeah,
indeed. So other than that, folks, if Omar, are you sure we don't got anything else? Did I miss anything? Firetheftradio.com.
That's it, man.
iTunes, download us there, right?
Yeah, download us iTunes. Cool. Where podcasts are available, and
Cool. I think that was it. So that's all we got. And don't forget to spread the fire.